to another episode of Alan Develops. We're working on Journey to the Center of the Nougat, which is going to be a Spirit of the Century-esque game, which is heavy on roleplay and world building, and light on combat and mechanics, but there'll still be some fighting there. First of all, I noticed going through my notes, I didn't include anything on TNT, for example. That's available in 1863, so they'll have it, because this takes place in like the 1890s. They get a map they can use until it becomes worthless. Exploration, etc. This part of this is exploration, and that means that you have maps from someone who went before until you don't. The combat hippo is fun. So protect the boat, get farther, then they'll walk from there. Okay, so I also did a little research on the chocolate plant, the cocoa plant, and what it needs. It needs a lot of things, and it's fairly specific, which you'd imagine from such a specific sort of plant. They have to be between 500 and 2,000 meters, which means their party must ascend half a kilometer or more. Out of the heat and just into the cool. Okay. Oh, is this the cocaine plant that I picked up? Oops. Alright, well, funnily enough, I'm going to use this. So, whatever. One of the things I do like about this, alright, so we need that stuff. Let me pull it down here so I can read it while I write, specifically. So this is sort of the background of where they're headed towards. Now I like that it's rich in humus, decomposing organic matter. The things had to die. In particular, the Lucas. That's a parody of the Oompa Loompas, if you don't know what I'm talking about. So, the people native to the region. Their bodies are what gives the variant of chocolate its flavor. And they're fine with that. It is an honor to eat to consume the plants of their ancestors. Yeah, and we're going to use that at these are the plants of their ancestors, literally. But that's a secret that we'll reveal later. Let's see, soil constituents, living organisms, minerals, magnesium and iron, as well as nitrates. All right. Well, that's a little backdrop there of where they're headed. Now it's important to know where they're headed because we've got to get them there. All right, so we're going to have a combat with a hippo. Hippo is all strength and athletics. Lots of water-based. What do you call those? What you use? All right. Well, they're tricks and aspects. They're called aspects. Won't pursue if badly stressed. It's there to screw around and maybe catch a bite. It's not there to fight to the death. Which is important, because we're setting up, this is sort of the background of things. While before we had the initial fight, or trying to get away from the angry mob in the city, now we're dealing with the animal side of things, and we're seeing how things go. I want them to be able to run or maneuver if need be. All right. Okay. Then we have put the boat into river bend shallowing, where it won't drift. They can anchor in midstream. Choices here. Everyone should suggest. This is just it's a team building exercise. Convince the NPC captain of what to do. The better it goes, the more likely he'll stick around. Alright, it's too early for natives. Okay. Head out. Making their way through the jungle. Some chrome. No checks. They're just traveling. There's no reason for them to get worried, let's say. The ruins. An elevated stone slab surrounded by little stone piles, the remains of a village long turned to dust, long abandoned. Why? Who knows? Let them come up with ideas. And I'm serious on that, because Spirit of the Century it's heavy on, hey, what do you think happened here? Monsters? Flood? Plague? The key with dealing with when they make a declaration is it, first of all, is the declaration interesting? Does it move the story along? Number two. And lastly, is it dangerous in some way? So if their reasoning for why the village is no longer here is because the villagers decided to leave, that fulfills none of the criteria, and that is an extremely difficult thing to make, where they're like, yeah, they were nomadic and they just moved on. That's boring, it doesn't move the story along, and holds no danger. If they're indicating that, like, there were deadly insects in the area and they decided to move, that doesn't really move the story along, isn't really interesting, it is dangerous, so it's a little easier. But if you're like, some sort of serpent men were kept raiding them from time to time, well, then that's interesting. It certainly moves the story along as to why nobody's been here, because or whether the serpent men will have villages nearby, so that moves the story along, and it's dangerous, certainly. And that would be a very easy declaration to make. Paths. Some details. remnants of the coca plant found here, as well as mortar and pestle, other crafting tools, and a clay baking, what they call that, pan for turning the coca into bars. Okay. So there will also be fallout from whatever they decide. Another village near here. Map it. Whatever. If it is another village, this one was more recently abandoned and attacked by monsters. Have fun. Alright. But this leads us to nighttime. Set camp, perimeter, watches, etc. Sneaky natives prowl the outskirts. Can they be caught or talked with? Maybe. So this would be, it's very difficult, because this will skip some of the exploration. Okay. Either way, this is a chase. I apologize if you're hearing the stuff in the background. They're blowing leaves on the street. This is a chase in one place, with a build-up. To the appearance of the main villain. The villain. But hey, he's hospitable. Alright, so how far are we going? Several days of travel. Tough going because I forget how far people can move in jungles. It's not far. Alright. Let's think about that. The villain, but hey, he's hospitable. A flare in the to the north. Red against the sky. The villain approaches. Unless the PCs have gotten native talking. If this happens, delay the villain until after the monster attack. Okay, so I should probably diagram how the flow of this story will go. Whether if they can get the natives talking, that's one thing. If they can't, then the villain appears. Um, so we'll go worry about that. So then we have the more travel. Um, to 9. Yeah, it's slow going, but they're going uphill. New discoveries every day. Alright, monster attack. Alright, so this is a jungle monster attack. Before, we just had stuff sniping at the edge, and we had a random hippopotamus. Which wasn't really random, but we'll get to that. So let's consider this. How do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? What monster, and it should be monstrous, but not overly so. Giant spiders are fun, certainly. Giant serpents are also fun. Oh, look. A native shield. All one piece. Fibrous. No, it's a scale. A snake scale. Here comes a territorial. A serpent of unusual size. Oh, I doubt they exist. Have it attack that person. Alright, they fend off the first critter. More appear, then villain appears. Do science here. The more science that gets done, the easier it will be later. Test for magnesium and iron. Not a lot. Not high enough. Lay out the stuff about the plants. Some other things they can discover. Beetles. Or ivy / moss. All right. The villain. All right. Well, if the villain hasn't appeared, then he does so now. Drives off disperses the snake ball. Reach them. The villain's hacienda. Former Spanish Duke deposed, was going to rule swaths of Mexico, had to retreat. Now plots his return. People refuse to follow him, but animals have no such luxury. Pheromonal control. Alright, that's an interesting twist. I didn't see that one coming. Pheromonal control. Master of the house. Basically, he can seem like he's the big kid on the block because he's got there. Anyway, his hacienda is a tilted place of off-white brick and rusting bars. It's the jungle. It corrupts everything. And that's my big hint that he's not a nice guy. In case the players are missing out on that, he will basically say the jungle corrupts everything. And since he's been in the jungle a while, ergo, it's him too. Alright. Now, pheromonal control is only animals. Let's not get weird. Also, mind control. It's nasty. So while it may give him an aspect or a thing that he can make people slightly more agreeable, it's not mind control because that gets weird, especially with players. So basically, the animal versions of that are fine. Works best to boost natural tendencies. Territorial, aggression, mating. All right. I should throw in a reference to scientific colleagues from previous games. I do have a few NPCs that I've used previously that dealt with animals or science or what have you. And we'll throw Doc Tanaki. Never returns the letters he sends by bird. Some sort of bird. I'll figure that out. I'll research the jungle and we'll get a good bird going here. All right. So invite to dinner. Lost Glories. Native servants in Western wear. Speaking English. Everyone speaks a little Spanish. This is not a game about linguistics. So everyone can understand each other. That's important. All right. Lost Glories native servants speaking English. They are terrified of him. He has them labor here, and in return, he protects their villages, which is true. His monsters are territorial and allow no competition. So basically, the villagers are protected, Yes. Invite to dinner. Fashion and sense. Of course you brought evening wear, right? If you hear those sounds, that's, oh, four. I have 3 alarms for that meeting? Jeez. Yes, it's in 15 minutes. I got plenty of time. You know what I didn't do though is I didn't expand this out to 150%. So anyway, yeah. Well, okay. Okay. So I apologize for that. I should have gone to 150%. It's been a while since I've done a recording. My fault on that entirely. So, of course, you brought your evening wear, right? Okay, so you brought your evening wear, light conversation, the history of this place, the coca plant. Where do we find it? He'll ask around, send word to the villages. The special ruby red always young, self-renewing, a good source, a good way to add, a good thing to add coffee. But rare. No, he doesn't cultivate it. No, he doesn't cultivate it himself. It only grows higher up. The natives there are restless. His beasts have clashed with them in the past. Okay, and we're gonna get to, we're almost there, 2 minutes. All right, the truth of the hacienda. Do they look deeper? If so, might need to flee. He'll let them go. Likely they'll die anyway, or be badly injured when they return this way. Okay. So by one thing or another, he's going to let them go. The journey resumes. Higher and higher. More ruins, more recent, better stonework. Eventually, a bronze forge. Unheard of in the Americas. When was it made? Who knows? Alright, I'm going to have to leave it off here. I don't know where to go for this. We need some sort of ascending climax where, They need to find the plant. But in a pure form. Where does it grow? Special slopes, tiered on a mountain, a native peoples with some modern in them, about 100 years. Their heroes set out to learn about the modern world and return with expertise and examples propelled their society forward. But the jungle diseases and animal attacks, yeah, the villain, have kept their numbers low. That's an interesting question of how old is the villain? How old is the villain? Debates longevity plant. No, I'm going to say he steals a longevity plant. Every 10 years or so. The natives have many biological secrets. Taught to them by who? No idea right now. I could always go Indiana Jones and do, aliens, because you can always fit in aliens into anything. Just say there were aliens, and there you go. I don't want to do that. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was, or could have been, a good movie. They chose to do weird things with it. All right, but we're going to leave it off here. This has been Alan Develops. I'm still working through this. You're watching me work through it, and sooner or later it will be an adventure, and I'll condense a whole bunch of these extraneous notes into a solid adventure profile that I will then hopefully use with friends. We'll eventually get into character creation and things like that. Which will be fun. I'll see how I do that, which Spirit of the Century template I'm going to use, and make sure that there's plenty of room for it and people get an idea of. I'll give them a little chance to set their skills and or talents from a suggested list or tree, so that they can make the character theirs rather than somebody they're playing. And it should be fun. All right, but I hope you've enjoyed this. Stay safe and take care out there, all right? Thanks.